What's up, foul balls? I'm Seth Fowler, and these are the sneaker releases that you need to know about in August 2023. And there are so many releases happening this month that I'm actually splitting up this week's Sitter Sell into two different parts. And this is just part one. Starting things off on August 1st, we've got the women's Air Jordan 2 Crystal Mint. So apparently this colorway is inspired by the up-and-coming women's basketball players out of NYC, and the colors are meant to reflect that. The shoe comes in a white leather makeup accented by gray hits and of course crystal mint hits, which is sort of like a teal color. And it honestly reminds me a lot of like two other pairs of Air Jordan 2s that have already dropped this year, the Wings and the Lucky Greens. It looks very similar. I mean, not that that's a bad thing, but I do think that the fact that this colorway is so similar to two other colorways that we've already gotten, it's gonna kill the hype a little bit. I mean, maybe it's stupid limited, maybe it's only available in NYC, which I kind of doubt because it's on the sneakers app. Either way, I don't see much hype behind this one. It doesn't mean it's a bad sneaker. I like the colorway, I like the meaning behind it, but I just don't think this shoe is gonna sell out. Also dropping on August 1st, we've got the Nike Zoom Vomero 5 Light Bone in Black. So this year, Nike has successfully revived the Vomero 5 silhouette. In fact, over the last couple years, they've been working on making it a popular silhouette, and this year it seems to be really catching on. And their timing honestly couldn't be any better. They're finally releasing a lot of really good colorways right when the demand is peaking for this shoe. And I mean, this light bone and black colorway is very, very clean. It comes in this sort of white and cream makeup accented by black hits. It's almost like a mashup of two different Vomero 5s that have released already this year, and it's a colorway that I'm personally going to be going for because at the moment I don't have any Vomero 5s. Now, do I think the shoe is going to sell out? I'm not sure. I think that there is a chance because the Vomero 5 is very popular and colorways in the past have sold out, and recently they've been dropping a lot of like really bright colored colorways like the yellow and the blue, and I think people are excited about getting a pair that's a little bit more wearable. So this white and black look is very clean, very wearable, and because of that, I'm gonna say that I do think there is a chance that this shoe will sell out, at least on the sneakers app. Moving on to August 2nd, we've got the Nike iSpa Universal Midnight Navy. So the foam clog trend is peaking like crazy right now. It's ridiculous. There's just foam clogs coming from every brand. Brands that I didn't even know existed are releasing foam clogs, and now Nike's getting in on it. And while I really like Nike's iSpa department because they do stuff that's crazy and different, this particular shoe is a miss in my opinion. I've seen people wearing it. I know it's relatively popular, but it's kind of ugly. And hey, that's just me. I like weird and wild looking sneakers, but there's something about this that just doesn't really work right for me. I don't know if it's like the ventilation hole or the cut in the top of the shoe. It just looks a little bit like I don't know, like a water shoe. It's not really for me. That being said, right now, pretty much any foam clog style sneaker will do relatively well, at least from what I can tell. So I think that there is a chance that there will be some hype behind this shoe. However, if you look at some of the other colorways of this shoe on StockX, they're all going for under retail. So I think the chances of this shoe selling out are pretty low. So for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sit. And if you're trying to grab a pair of these for yourself to rock, you honestly shouldn't have too hard of a time. Moving on to August 3rd, we've got a pretty wild turn of events with Yeezy and Foot Locker. It looks like Foot Locker is going back on what they had said last year about how they're never going to sell Yeezy products again, and they're selling a bunch of Yeezy products this month. I don't know what to say about that one. That's kind of on them. It's not a great look, I'll be honest, saying one thing and then doing the complete opposite, but either way, we're getting more Yeezys, and if you love Yeezy sneakers, then this is a great month for you. Now, unfortunately, or I guess fortunately if you live near Foot Locker, all of the Yeezys dropping in today's video are releasing exclusively at Foot Locker. There's probably pairs that will release through Adidas again at some point, but we just don't know about that release yet. However, we do know that Foot Locker is going to be releasing certain Yeezy silhouettes and colorways throughout the month of August, and we generally have some idea of when they're releasing. So I'm going to give you guys all the release dates for these Yeezys throughout this video, and then of course in part 2. Which, by the way, if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. It helps out the channel a lot, and we're trying to hit 1.2 million subscribers. Kind of a weird goal, but possible. So the first pair of Yeezys dropping in August, again on August 3rd, is the Adidas Yeezy Slide in Bone. Now this is actually a pair of slides that I think's restocked like 2 or 3 times at this point, and it's the one pair of Yeezy slides that I've always wanted and just haven't been able to grab. My wife has a pair, but I don't have a pair. And with the Yeezy slide being like my most worn pair of footwear that I have in my house, other than maybe like the Crocs Mellow slides or something like that, I would love to have another pair because my black pair and my brown pair, I don't remember the exact names of those shoes, are getting really worn down. So as you probably know, this pair of slides comes in a bone or light cream color. Again, it's released multiple times, so I'm sure you already know what it looks like. And it's one of the most popular pairs of Yeezy slides. So for that reason, I definitely think the shoe is going to sell out. I don't know how difficult it'll be to get. I'm hoping I can just walk into the Foot Locker that's near my house on August 3rd. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be impossible to grab. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see what happens. Also dropping on the 3rd, we've got the Air Jordan 5 Low Dongdan. So this shoe apparently is themed after a legendary basketball court in Beijing where professional athletes or semi-professional athletes go to hone their skills. And it's honestly not a bad looking pair of Air Jordan 5 Lows. It comes in a black suede upper, accented by pink shark teeth and of course splatter print. It's not bad, but it's just not that exciting. Plus, I just feel like the Air Jordan 5 is just not one of their most popular silhouettes at the moment. I love the Air Jordan 5. It's one of my favorite Jordan models of all time, but right now, especially in the low, it's just not hitting. So because of that, I am going to give this shoe a sit. However, again, doesn't mean it's a bad sneaker. If you want to grab it, it shouldn't be too hard to grab, but I just don't think it's going to sell out. And then finally rounding off the 3rd, we've got the Amamaniere Nike Jordan Airship PE. So I love the fact that Jordan Brand has been bringing back the Nike Airship over the last couple years, since 2020 I think, and it's a silhouette that in my opinion just isn't getting enough love. In fact, almost all of the colorways that have released so far you can buy for retail or under retail on resale sites. It's actually kind of insane because they're all super fire colorways and they're all definitely worth picking up. I mean, it's essentially an Air Jordan 1, except with slightly different color blocking and a little bit less hype. And again, if you don't know the story behind the Nike Airship, it was the silhouette that Michael Jordan wore before the Air Jordan 1 and obviously inspired the Air Jordan 1. Now obviously this shoe is a collaboration with Amamaniere and comes in a really nice white leather upper accented by dark navy hits and a cream midsole and also tongue. Hold up, is that black? I literally thought that was navy the entire time that I was researching this video, and now I'm on their website looking at it and it looks like it's black. And of course, because this shoe is a collaboration with Amamaniere, the hype is there for this sneaker. In fact, I saw someone post on Twitter, I think it was Sneaker Fetish or now X. I literally just pulled it up earlier and it's X now, which is... Back to what I was saying, Sneaker Fetish was saying that you could buy all of the previous Nike Airships that have released over the last couple years, except for, of course, the New Beginnings pack Nike Airship, for less than the resale price of the Amamaniere pair. I think it's a great shoe, but resale-wise, I probably won't be picking it up unless you guys really want me to do a review. Otherwise, sure, I'll grab it. But unless I can grab this shoe for retail, it's probably not a pair that I'm going to throw on feet, and I definitely think this shoe will end up selling out. Speaking of crazy collaborations that are absolutely hyped up, the Unboxed app, the app that I'm a part owner of, is actually doing a swap to cop auction on a pair of off-white Air Jordan 4s. If you've never heard of the Unboxed app, it's an app that allows you to categorize your sneakers, legit check your sneakers, and now swap to cop, which means you can take brand new sneakers in your collection that you've never worn that you don't really want and trade them for something that you'd actually prefer and you would actually wear. And this week, the swap to cop auction is for a pair of off-white Air Jordan 4s, which is one of the most hyped up releases of the last couple years. The auction is actually live right now through the link in the top of the description below, so I definitely recommend checking it out and also checking out the Unboxed app if you haven't yet. Unfortunately, still not available on Android, but it's coming, don't worry. And then essentially all you need to do is bid for that pair of sneakers with some new pairs of sneakers in your collection, and you can even throw cash on top, and whoever has the most competitive offer or competitive value voted on by the community will win. And I will absolutely be going for this one because I don't have a pair of off-white Air Jordan 4s. I was supposed to get a pair, it didn't happen, so now I'm gonna try and get this one. So good luck guys, but not too good of luck because I'm gonna win. Next up, moving on to August 4th, we've got the Ambush Nike Air More Uptempo Low in Vivid Sulfur and Limestone. So Ambush is continuing their partnership with Nike on this pair of Nike Air More Uptempo Lows, which I'm gonna be honest is not that common of a silhouette. As you probably guessed from the name of the shoe or could see in the pictures of the shoe comes in sort of a tan suede upper, accented by bright yellow hits on the Air text on the upper of the shoe, and of course a fully black midsole and outsole. I mean honestly, it's not a bad looking pair of shoes. It's not exactly for me, but I could definitely understand that people will be hyped on it. I actually did just find a bunch of Ambush Nike collaborations at the Nike outlet. In fact, in the last Nike outlet vlog that I did, which was crazy, and if you guys want to check that out, there will be a link at the top of the screen. And actually, not to go on a tangent, I just filmed another Nike outlet vlog, which comes out next week, which I find some pretty crazy stuff. I also meet up with Chase after the right price, and actually, hold up, again, more tangent, I'm giving away a crazy pair of sneakers in the next Whatnot stream. Link in the description below. You guys might know what it is, might not. But I grabbed this pair from the same trip. It's not from the same video. Either way, subscribe to stay tuned. There's a lot of stuff coming. It's going to be sick. Also, crazy giveaway coming on Whatnot very soon. Make sure to click that link at the top of the description below to sign up for Whatnot if you haven't. Bunch of shameless promo out of the way. It's a dope looking pair of sneakers. I think a lot of people are going to be into it, and I do personally think that this shoe will end up selling out. And then finally rounding off the 4th, we've got one of the most highly anticipated sneaker releases of the summer, which was actually pushed back recently and is finally releasing, and that's the Air Jordan 1 Low Black Toe. So I've actually done a full review of this sneaker already, so if you guys want to hear all my thoughts on this shoe, make sure to click the link at the top of the screen. But it's a very clean looking Air Jordan 1 Low. It comes in the original black toe colorway, and I think it's going to be incredibly popular. And I'm not going to go too much into depth on this shoe because again, there's already a full review, but I love it. I'm gonna grab a second pair. I haven't actually rocked this pair yet. I don't know why. I've just been, I guess, traveling. I don't know. I have no good excuses. I have a lot of sneakers. That's the problem. Regardless, it's a dope looking sneaker and it's gonna be incredibly popular. And for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sell. Then moving on to the 5th, we've got the Air Jordan 13 Wolf Gray. So this is actually an incredibly clean pair of Air Jordan 13s. It comes with a white tumbled leather upper, accented by gray suede on the midsole of the shoe, or just above the midsole. You've got a red outsole, which I think is really clean, and then of course some red hits on the front of the sneaker like the tongue. Overall, simple, but very, very clean. Now, is it a shoe that a lot of people are going to be hyped on? I don't know. I do think it's going to sell better than most other retros because of how clean it is and the fact that it's a lower number Air Jordan retro. But I don't think the shoe is going to sell out, especially because it retails for $200, which is getting closer to the norm when it comes to sneaker releases now, but still pretty high. And the Air Jordan 13 is just not as popular as the 4 or the 1 or even the 3 or maybe the 5 or the 6 even. I don't know. It's just not as popular. So with all of that in mind, while it's an incredibly clean sneaker, I just don't think the hype is going to be there for this one. So for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sit. However, I do think some sizes will sell out in certain stores, maybe even on the sneakers app. I'm not sure. Also, possibly dropping on the 5th, however not confirmed yet, is the Union LA Buffy's Beauty Supply Air Jordan 1. So this shoe is incredibly polarizing. You either love this shoe or you hate this shoe. There's not too much in between, and I'm kind of leaning towards the love this shoe side of things. I genuinely think, while it's not the prettiest shoe in the world, the uniqueness of this sneaker and the fact that nothing like this has really been done before in a pair of Air Jordan 1s makes it something that I want to wear. Now, I did already do a review on this shoe. There will be a link at the top of the screen, and I no longer have that pair, and the reason for that is because it wasn't exactly my size. But I am going to try and grab this shoe again in my size for retail because I'm hoping the hype isn't as crazy as I think it might end up being. So if you're not familiar with this shoe is a collaboration between Union LA, Buffy's Beauty Supply, which is actually run by one of the founders of Union LA, and of course Air Jordan, or Jordan brand. And the detail that really turns a lot of people off is the woven detail that wraps all the way around the upper of the shoe, which was actually taken from the Nike Footscape. And while apparently the reason that they put this detail on the shoe is because the founder of Buffy's Beauty Supply really loved that detail. Maybe this is a bit of a conspiracy, but I personally think that the reason that they're doing this in the upper of the shoe is because Nike is bringing back the Footscape and they're trying to sort of slowly ease people into that design once again. Actually, it's the same thing that they did with the Vomero 5s, where the first time that shoe re-released was as a collaboration, and now it's releasing as just a standard shoe and it's incredibly popular. It's happened with Travis, it's happened a lot of times, and I don't think it's crazy to think that it's going to happen again with this shoe. The problem with this, though, is that the shoe just isn't as good looking as I think some of the other collaborations that have used older silhouettes, so because of that, it might not work out as well as it has in the past. I will say, though, that the colorway of this shoe is absolutely fire. It features these yellow accents along the sides of the leather, which is super clean and super subtle. The leather that they use seems nice. It's white leather. It's very, very clean. You've got a cream-colored midsole and outsole, which just ties the shoe together so nicely. I really like this shoe, and personally, I think it's going to sell out. I think a lot of people hate on it right now, but once they get it in hand, they're going to be like, it's all right, I'll buy a pair for retail, and it's going to sell out and probably resell. Again, though, this is only a potential release date. Nothing official has been said or set in stone yet. We just know that it's going to drop sometime in August, and a lot of people think it's going to be the 5th. Now, if this shoe does end up dropping on the 5th, it's going to drop alongside another pair from the same collaboration, the Union LA Buffy's Beauty Supply Air Jordan 1 Elevate High. Now, this shoe is actually pretty similar to the other shoe that we just talked about. It's a women's exclusive, and it is still an Air Jordan 1 High. However, the midsole tooling of this shoe is different. It's technically a different silhouette, and the colors are also slightly different. And it's funny, I posted a video about this shoe, or featuring the shoe a little while back, and people were like, I much prefer the green on this shoe to the white on the other shoe, and I kind of get it. I mean, it's really just a green Nike swoosh and an orange Wings logo, and of course a slightly different midsole, but it is a relatively different sneaker, and I do think it will be popular, at least more popular than standard Elevate Highs, but not as popular as a standard Jordan 1. And while I do think this shoe will sell out, I do think it's going to be a slower mover, like probably slowly selling out through the day or the weekend or whatever, and you probably still could find some pairs of this shoe for the next couple days. So while I should give this shoe a sit, I do think it is going to sell out, so for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sell. Moving on to August 8th, we've got yet another Vomero 5 dropping. This time around, it's a women's exclusive Team Red and Pink foam colorway. I think the shoe looks like a lot of the Valentine's sneakers that Nike drops around Valentine's Day, and I'm surprised that they're releasing it now. Not to say it's a bad colorway, and not to say that you shouldn't release pink sneakers in August, but it definitely looks like the Valentine's Day sneakers that they released this year. That being said, it's a maroon-colored Nike Zoom Vomero 5 with light pink accent. It's very clean, and there's nothing wrong with it, but because the shoe is a women's exclusive, and because I think the colorway might be polarizing for some people, I think this shoe will end up sitting on shelves. Also dropping on the 8th, we've got yet another Yeezy Foot Locker release. This time around, it's the Adidas Yeezy 350 V2 Compact in Slate Bone. So the Compact is a very interesting 350 V2. It's essentially a slightly different upper on the same midsole tooling. It's more comfortable than the standard 350 V2. It's softer, the knit's stretchier, and it's better padded. But it's very ugly. at least in my opinion. While this colorway is better than the original launch colorway of the shoe, I just don't think the hype is there for this release. When you say 350 V2, you don't think of the compacts, you think of the standard 350 V2s. And I just don't think the shoe is gonna move. Out of all of the Yeezy releases dropping this month, I think this is the one that has the highest potential to sit on shelves. So for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sit. Continuing on to August 9th, we've got the Nike Dunk Low Sequoia. So this shoe is about as toned down as you can get when it comes to a pair of Nike Dunks. It features all one color cream midsole and outsole, a very, very, very dark green upper with some leather hits and some like fabric hits. I'm not sure exactly what kind of fabric that is. Maybe it's canvas, I don't know. And it's plain. It's very, very plain. Some people might love that, especially if they want to rock a pair of Nike Dunks to work and they can't rock regular Dunks, I don't know. But either way, very plain, very simple, and I think it's gonna sit. I think this shoe will end up in the outlets in the next probably 4 to 5 weeks. After that, returning on the 9th for the first time ever, we've got the Nike KD3 Easy Money. So Nike is finally bringing back some classic basketball sneakers and silhouettes and colorways from the 2000s and 2010s, which I love. It's like my favorite era of modern basketball sneakers. Obviously, I prefer like 80s Air Jordan 1s and Forums and things like that, but in terms of current or relatively current basketball sneakers, this is the era that I love. And while we've already started to see retros of basketball sneakers from LeBron and Kobe, we have yet to see any from KD, and it seems like this might be the first one that they're re-releasing, or at least the first that I can think of. It's very possible that they dropped one already and then I completely forgot, but I don't think I did. Let me know in the comment section down below. I'm sure you guys will already. You guys always let me know, which I'm grateful for. Most of the time. As the name Easy Money would suggest, the shoe is a money-themed sneaker. It comes in sort of a money green color with hundreds on the Nike swoosh, and it also features some cool orange hits. I think it's a really dope looking pair of sneakers. Is it something that I would wear every day? Probably not, but it's something that maybe I'd wear on the basketball court if I played basketball in the last like 6 months. Maybe I'd grab it. I do think that this shoe will end up selling out. And then finishing things off on August 9th, we've got one of the wildest releases of the entire year, and that's the Mischief Crocs Big Yellow Boots. So obviously this year, Mischief's Big Red Boots were one of the most talked about shoes of the year. I did a full review on this shoe, albeit a little bit late. If you guys want to check that out, link at the top of the screen. But apparently they caught the attention of Crocs, and now Crocs wants to collaborate with them on a pair of Big Red Boots, except this time around, Big Yellow Boots with croc holes on the top. I don't hate it. Is it something I would wear? Absolutely not. Does it take away some of the utility of the fact that this is a great rain boot? Yes, because it's got giant holes in it, but I think it's wild. And I think for Mischief, that's sort of their goal, to create the wildest and most thought-provoking thing. And this is definitely that. Now, do I think that this shoe will have the same cultural impact that the first pair had? Probably not. I think we're all kind of, not desensitized, but used to this sort of boot silhouette now. So I think that it is possible that people just aren't going to be as into it as they were with the Big Red Boots. I think that was like a cultural phenomenon when that dropped. But I do think people are still going to be interested in it. Like me, for example. I'd love to have a pair of them just to try them out. Mischief, if you're watching, could you send me a pair? That'd be sweet. In terms of whether this shoe actually ends up sitting or selling out, I think that all depends on quantity and whether people receive this shoe as well as the Big Red Boots. But I'm going to be optimistic and say that I do think that this shoe will probably end up selling out because it's a collaboration and it's even weirder than the first one. Moving on to August 10th, we've got the Nike Air Flight Hirachi in black and Varsity purple. This shoe is coming back straight from the vault in Lakers colorways. It seems like Nike is bringing back a bunch of classic basketball sneakers in August, which I love. Now, I'm not personally a huge Nike Air Flight Hirachi guy. I don't have any nostalgia towards the sneaker, but doesn't mean it's a bad sneaker. It's a classic shoe. I think a lot of people love this sneaker, and I do think there will be some hype behind it. Will it sell out? Kind of doubt it, but you never know. So for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sit, but hey, if you want a pair of these, be on your game. It might fly, I have no idea. Also dropping on the 10th, we've got the Air Jordan 2 Low Varsity Royal. This colorway almost looks like the third off-white Air Jordan 2 Low colorway. If they ever did release that colorway, I wouldn't have been surprised if this is what it was. And actually, if they had dropped this instead of the black and blue colorway, I think it would have done way better. That being said, it's a really solid looking sneaker. I like the Air Jordan 2 Low silhouette a lot, and this colorway is very, very clean, but the hype just isn't there for the Air Jordan 2s. And I think no matter how many times Jordan Brand throws Air Jordan 2s at us, they're just not gonna hit the same way that other Air Jordan silhouettes do. So for that reason, while the shoe is incredibly clean, and while I definitely recommend picking this shoe up if you don't have any pairs of 2s, it's probably gonna sit. And then we finished off the 10th with another Yeezy Foot Locker release. This time around, it's the Yeezy Slides in Glow Green. This is another colorway that initially released, I think 2 or 3 years ago and was incredibly popular and hasn't restocked since. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it had one restock, but we're finally getting it back, and it's just as green as it was the first time. It also doesn't glow, it never glowed. Either way, it's a very clean slide, and it's a pair that I'm definitely gonna try and pick up, but I do think the shoe will probably end up selling out. And then rounding off today's video on the 15th, because again, this is just a part 1. Part 2 is coming in the next couple weeks, so make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet to get notified as soon as that video drops. But on the 15th, we've got a couple more Yeezy Foot Locker releases, and we'll start things off with the Yeezy slides in Slate Marine. So this shoe is apparently like a grayish blue Yeezy slide. I don't think we've ever had this colorway released before. I'm sure it was slated to release last year at some point, and then of course everything went down and it didn't get released. I think the shoe is going to be just as popular as all of the other Yeezy slides dropping this month. I think people are loving Yeezy slides and want as many pairs as they can have. That's how I feel about them, at least. And I think this colorway is fine. Nothing crazy, but definitely clean, definitely wearable, and I do think that this shoe will end up selling out. Also dropping on the 15th, we've got the Adidas Yeezy 350 V2 Granite. So this shoe is just kind of standard for Yeezy 350s at this point. It's kind of like an earth tone gray on the upper of the shoe with like a black stripe. It's not bad. I mean, it's the first pair of 350 V2s, standard pair of 350 V2s that we're getting in August, so I think people will be excited about that. But it's nothing that special. And as we saw again with Yeezy Day a couple months ago or last month, 350 V2s just aren't moving as quickly as they used to. While I do think this shoe will sell out, so I'm going to give it a sell, I don't think it's going to be an instant sellout. So if you want a pair of these, you honestly shouldn't have too hard of a time grabbing them, and even if you miss out, resale shouldn't be that bad. Another pair dropping on the 15th is the Yeezy Foam Runner Stone Salt. It's another pretty plain but pretty clean Yeezy foam runner. It comes in sort of like a tannish gray color. It looks a lot like the, well, a lot of the other foam runners, but I mean, that's kind of what Kanye likes to do. He likes to release a lot of the same earth tone colors, which I'm not against. I love earth tones. I do think people love foam runners still to this day, even years after they first released, even though they're a wild looking shoe. And I do think the hype for this shoe will be pretty crazy. In fact, again, if you look back at Yeezy Day, the foam runners were like the first shoes to sell. Actually, no, probably the 350 V1s and then the foam runners and then the slides. So very popular silhouette. People are gonna love this shoe, and I definitely think this shoe in whatever colorway it drops in will absolutely sell out. And then finally, finishing off the 15th, we've got one more Yeezy sneaker releasing, and it's actually a brand new silhouette, and it's the Yeezy 500 Tactical Boot. So this shoe is actually pretty wild. I follow one of the Yeezy designers on Instagram, and he posted an eBay listing or something of a pair that he'd found, basically confirming that it was real like a month or two ago, which honestly really intrigued me because I thought it was a pretty interesting looking pair of shoes. Essentially what it is a Yeezy 500 midsole and outsole connected to a Yeezy tactical boot or some sort of tactical boot. It's not bad. It's not something I'd wear every day. Definitely more of like a winter shoe, but it's interesting. I'm personally really interested in this shoe because I'd love to do a review for you guys. Let me know in the comment section down below if you guys would like to see that. But it's wild. It's definitely a different look. It's not something we've seen before. Well, I guess we have had Yeezy boots before, Yeezy 500 boots before, so it's not that crazy, but it's different, and I like it. Ish. That being said, I do think the chance of this shoe selling out is higher than it would have been if it had released last year because it's a brand new silhouette and it's the last version of the shoe that we're getting, presumably. So for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sell. But hey, that pretty much wraps up the entire video for today. Let me know in the comment section down below which one of these shoes you're looking forward to most, and I'll see you all in part 2.